Well, good evening, everybody. Yes, we are here. I know it's a different time. It is 6 o'clock. Well, to be correct, it's 1 minute after 6 o'clock. But it is 6 o'clock. I wanted to do an earlier show tonight, you know, instead of 9 o'clock, which is our normal time. I wanted to go early tonight because it is election night. It's election day, election night. And I know everybody's going to be hovering around their television sets and iPads, computers, everything else, because this is a big election. And everybody's anxious to know the results, see the results as they come in. You know, I don't have to remind everybody. I mean, this has been it's been a very difficult last couple of years. You know, I don't want to get into too much of it, but I do want to talk about it because it is the hot topic of the day. It is election. I know that a lot of people have been working extra hard to try to get out the vote. This is the midterm elections. A lot of gubernatorial candidates are up for re-election. And the House and the Senate is in play here. I don't know how much of you guys, how closely you follow politics. I'm actually kind of a politics junkie, I hate to admit. And back in the day, I hosted a syndicated radio show called No Holds Barred, and it was all about politics. And I'm just kind of I just really enjoy it. I do know that the fate of our country lies in the hands of those that we represent, that we vote for, that we elect to represent us. At least I'd like to think that anyway. It doesn't feel like it a lot of times. I know that a lot of people don't feel represented. I don't ever really much talk about my political beliefs, but I don't mind putting it out there, and you guys feel free to comment. You know, I consider myself a true independent. And a lot of people say they're independent, but I truly am. There are a lot of things that I agree with the Democrats. There's a lot of things that I agree with Republicans on. I'm really funny in that I don't have much of a gray area. Like I take a hard stance on one thing or the other. And I think both sides, you know, have something that I believe in. What's been funny over the last, 10 years is watching when President Barack Obama was president. The Republicans didn't want to have anything to do with him. Now Donald Trump is the president, and the Democrats want to have nothing to do with him. And on both sides, they're just blocking agendas left and right. The only people that lose in that scenario are you and me, the American people. When I cast my vote, I early voted. But when I cast my vote this time, I went down each of the initiatives. There's a lot of stuff on the ballot in Tennessee, where we are, that's very important to me. So I don't just vote down one side or the other, and I hope nobody does. I hope that you read and you educate yourself, just like the music business or anything else. Educate yourself, know what's good for you, because, see, I can't just vote party platform. I vote based on what affects me, what affects my family, and what affects my business. Because a lot of the other platforms and things that both political parties stand for, they don't affect me. So I tend to use my vote. It's very personal to me. And I vote for things that I believe in. I vote against things that I don't believe in. So I can't really call myself a Democrat or Republican. I just know that this election is hyper important. I don't know that in my lifetime if I've ever seen a bigger effort on both sides to get the vote out. It's been very interesting to watch. I know that I'm ready to be able to sit down behind or in front of my television and not see political ads. That is one thing I know beyond the shadow of a doubt that I'm ready for. I am so sick and tired of seeing the slandering and just the pandering that both sides, the level to which they will stoop to just try to degrade their opponent. You know, we used to live in a time in our country where it was not about the individual, it was about the belief system. And we've turned into this dirty politics thing over the last 15 years. And it's hard to know what is the truth or not. If you're not really good at doing a lot of research on your own, it's difficult because all you hear are the negative things about the other candidate. I want to know what they stand for. I want to know that if I do give them my vote, what are they going to do in Washington? Excuse me. I want to know, and I hope that I'm voting for somebody that actually does reflect the will of the people. Again, I know we're a little bit early tonight. If you guys would like to make comments, if you've got questions or anything like that, there is something that I want to play that I'm going to play for you in just a second, but I do want to get to your comments. We might even take some phone calls a little bit later in the show, but I can see some of you making comments, and I've got them in front of me. So if you want to chime in, you've got a question, you've got a comment, I'm more than happy to read those and answer. And I'm surprised some of you saying, "Hey, I'm conservative, and I'll be hovering around my computer because I started writing a book." Good job, excellent. I wanted to play something for you because I don't know how many of you actually caught this or how many of you watched it. And see, I'm one of these people that I watch a lot of people that I don't necessarily agree with because I like to hear their arguments. I like to hear why they believe what they believe because, look, everybody's mind can be changed. I believe there are certain things that we hold true to ourselves, and we plant a flag and we plant a banner, and that's it. That's it. And that's cool. I have those things, you know, with myself. I have those issues. But they're personal to me. But I watch a lot of people that I don't necessarily have a lot in common with from a political standpoint because I like to hear where they're coming from. I think we owe that to each other, and we don't sit down and we don't talk to each other anymore. We argue and we try to convince the other person to believe the way that we believe or vote the way that we vote. We don't have an honest conversation anymore. And I caught something the other night, and I found it interesting, and I couldn't agree more about how I kind of feel about it. And then I'll follow up on it after we play this. But the other night I was watching Bill Maher. Now, real time. I love the show. I don't always agree with Bill Maher. We have some things that we agree on. I don't agree with him on everything. He had Barbara Streisand on the other night, and as a guest, he said something in the middle of the interview that I found very interesting, and I wanted to replay it tonight because, you know, people do ask me what my political opinions are, and I thought this was the best response that I had heard in a long time. And like I said, I couldn't agree more with it. So I want to play some of this, and because I just thought it was so interesting, and see what you guys think about it. But here, let's take a listen to this.
I think part of the problem is that politics is too much in our life. When I was a kid, it was like something that was almost impolite to talk about. You didn't talk about religion or politics. The neighbors, we didn't know where they went to worship or who they voted for. You just didn't go there. And I think that's our way back to sanity. People say you got to talk to the other side, but then what they really mean is you got to convince them. You're never going to convince them.
No.
But just don't talk about that shit. Talk about everything else that people used to talk about.
What's interesting is that when, like as an actor, you have to inhabit other people's personas.
Right.
You play that role, but in order to play them, you have to understand them. And that takes away a lot of bigotry, I think, if you really step into other people's shoes.
Right.
And
empathy.
Empathy.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think one reason why.
All right, I just wanted to play that because I found that so interesting because I couldn't agree more. And I mean, I'm old enough now. I mean, I'm 41 years old. And I remember those days. I remember the days when you don't talk politics and you don't talk religion. And that doesn't mean that you are not proud of your political beliefs or that you waver in them in any way or that you are not proud of your religion or what you believe. What it means is that there is What it means is that there is no room for political discourse anymore in personal conversations. It's a very sad thing, like I said, and he said it there too. There's no talking anymore. There's no understanding one another. There's no appreciating other people, although and even though they might have a different opinion, they might have a different belief, they might have a different religion than you. I remember those days. I remember my grandfather was a staunch Democrat. Although I will say that the Democrats of that era are no longer the Democrats of today, but my grandfather, I remember him talking, son, you don't talk politics and you don't talk religion. You especially don't talk it at the dinner table, but when you get together with friends and you get together with neighbors, those topics, those conversations are off limits. Because what you'll probably find is that we're all different. We don't all agree. We weren't meant to all agree on everything. And we've become so polarized, whether it's the Republicans totally 100% against Barack Obama, or it's the Democrats 110% hell-bent on getting Donald Trump out of office. Now, I'll be the first. Donald Trump does some stupid things. I don't agree with everything that he does. I will say that my bottom line has gone up. But I don't agree with everything the man stands for. I don't agree with everything anybody stands for. I just hate to see where we are as a country, as a people, where we now judge somebody's value, we judge somebody's worth, we judge whether or not they're a good friend or a good person based on what political party they're affiliated with and who they voted for. And I think that's sad. I think we are all going to miss out on a lot of great relationships and a lot of meaningful friendships until we can get past that, until it can just be about you and me, friends, neighbors, colleagues, coworkers, and it doesn't matter so much what they believe in. We've got to stop trying to convince other people to believe the way that we believe or believe that somebody is lesser than or wrong about everything if they don't agree with us and we don't agree with them. Like I said, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the election. It's big. The direction of our country very well could change tonight. I'm working with, I think I've mentioned them before, I'm producing and developing a new act out of Mississippi called Gilded. And we were sitting here talking today. We were taking a break and we were talking about, what they thought. And I mean, and they're, 15, 16, 17 years old. And, hearing them even say, I'm not as educated as I should be on everything. And talking with them about how important this election is. I said it on Instagram earlier, and I'll wrap this whole election BS up by saying this. I don't care who you vote for. I don't care if you're a Democrat. I don't care if you're a Republican. I don't care if you're independent, if you're Tea Party, Libertarian. I don't care. But vote. Go vote. It baffles me every election when you watch the network and they talk about the number of people who didn't vote. I can't imagine it. It is one of our fundamental freedoms under the Constitution and the Bill of Rights to be able to cast our vote. You have to get out and vote because here's what I said on Instagram. If you don't vote, you do not get to bitch about what happens after the election. And you'd be surprised the number of political conversations and debates that I've gotten into with people, and we're in this conversation and sometimes turns to argument for 30, 45 minutes. And then I think to ask a question, did you even vote? No, I didn't vote. I didn't like either person. I didn't vote. And I'm like, well, then the last 45 minutes of your argument is invalid. You cannot bitch, complain, moan, and talk about how bad the Republicans are or how bad the Democrats are if you didn't participate in the process. So I hope everybody watched tonight that is of voting age got out and voted. If you didn't find out what time the polls closed, turn off this show right now and go vote. So I just want to say that it's such an important night. It is such an important election. And there is so very much at stake. The political landscape of our country and the direction of our country, things that could happen based on votes that are cast tonight could change your personal life forever. It really could. And it could change the direction of our country for the rest of our lifetime and the lifetimes that we are leaving to our children. So I hope you got out and voted. Like I said, I don't care which way you voted. I just hope that you participated in the process. So anyway, there's that. I wanted to talk a little bit about the election because it is important to me. And like I said, I am an absolute political junkie. Absolute teetotal political junkie. Also, I want to remind you we will be back next week at the regular time, I think. I've gotten several messages from you guys saying that you would like to do this earlier. So I'm considering doing it earlier, but I also want to let you know I've got some huge news that is coming that I don't think I tried to make a phone call before the show started tonight to find out if I could talk about this, and I didn't get the answer. I couldn't get the person on the phone, so I don't think I can talk about it yet. But there are some major things coming. How do you guys like the new Steve Freeman podcast logo? I actually really like that. You know, I'm huge into gaming, so I had the guy that designed like Tim the Tat Man's logo and a bunch of those big streaming guys. I had him design the logo, and we went back and forth over it for a month, but we finally got it. And there's a bunch of new stuff like that and graphics and things that I'm going to be rolling out because of what's fixing to happen. It's huge. I can tell you that. It's huge. It's worldwide huge. And I'm pumped up about it. I'm excited about it. And I'll be able to tell you all about it very soon. Also, that plays into a bigger part of this is we will not be in this studio very much longer. We are actually moving studios. I'm building out another complete studio that has multi-camera angles and all kinds of stuff set up for having in-studio guests and really bringing in some powerhouse people to talk about music, talk about business, talk about being an entrepreneur, talk about TV and film, basically a whole bunch of stuff. The show is taking a huge direction, and we're making a little bit of a turn, but it's for a good reason. And I hope maybe by next week, I will be able to give you guys the news and share with you exactly what's going to be going on. But needless to say, the Steve Freeman podcast is about to go worldwide, and you're about to. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. And we maybe be able to talk about it next week. If you guys have questions or comments, don't forget, you can type them in the chat, whether you're watching on YouTube or whether you're watching on Twitch. All you have to do is type them in the chat section. They pop right up here in front of me, and I can read them, I can see them, and I can answer them. James says, we can agree the Cowboys didn't play ball last night at all. Man, I got to tell you, I was so... Well, let me put it this way. I was so excited for the first 8.5 minutes of the game. I thought, man, my Cowboys are back. It's coming together. They got the 2 fumble recoveries. It's going great. It's going to work. And then it just went down the toilet, like the rest of the season, pretty much. Living in Nashville, I'm supposed to be a Titans fan. I'm supposed to be happy that the Titans beat the Cowboys. I'm not. I'm not as much of a Titans fan as I probably should be, but I have to say, and I have to give the Titans kudos, man. They really held it together. They held their composure after those 2 turnovers and came back and just clobbered the Cowboys by 14 points. I think the final score was 28-14. But it was hard. As a Cowboys fan, it was hard to watch. I'm just going to be real honest with you. It was hard to watch. I just came upstairs after the loss. I went I have a Cowboys room in my house where I've got all my Cowboy jerseys and footballs and helmets. And I just kind of, stood around and cried for a few minutes. Stared at my Ezekiel Elliott jersey and wondered where the hell he was in the 3rd and 4th quarter. Looked at my Dak Prescott jersey and was just like, come on, man. Come on. And then after I thought about it for a little while, I figured out exactly what the problem is. We missed Jason Witten. He was broadcasting the game last night, and I was just thinking, at what point, how bad's it going to have to get for Jason to walk out of that broadcast booth and get down there, put some pads on, and help us win this freaking game? Because I think that's what it was going to take. And as a Cowboys fan, this is not a sports show, but James asked, so I'm going on about it. We missed Jason Witten. Amari Cooper was awesome in his debut last night. He was great. So we've now got that wide receiver. We need a tight end. We need Jason Witten. Cole Beasley is not Jason Witten. He may be a good slot receiver, and he'll play that Danny Amendola kind of role, but we need a great tight end. And I think that's our problem. But, so yeah, it hurt. It hurt pretty good watching the Cowboys lose last night. There was something else that I wanted to show you and that I wanted to play for you guys. I have been doing a lot of research for a project that I'm working on that I will involve you guys in and tell you about at a future time when some of this other stuff starts happening. But, I've not ever really gotten into the whole self-help people and the motivational speakers, and I just find a lot of that to be BS, and I just don't do a lot of that stuff. But there is a guy that has caught my attention that I have been paying a lot of attention to lately, and I don't know that if you guys feel the same way that I do, but Gary V, I think, is just a rock star. I think the guy he's an amazing businessman, great entrepreneur. I love that he involves himself so much in pop culture. I love that he tries to help people and that he's so interactive with people. I messaged him on Instagram and he messaged me back. And that kind of surprised me. But I've really gotten into watching a lot of his videos and the Ask Gary V show. And I ran across an interview that he did on the Ask Gary V show that I wanted to replay for you guys, because if you haven't seen it, I think you need to go watch it. And because he is involved in the music business to a certain degree, and he has investments there and has friends in the business and involves himself somewhat. He had Scooter Braun on, and they were talking about the music business, and we were talking about business in general, but they were talking a lot about music business because Scooter Braun was there. And if you don't know who Scooter Braun is, look it up. But basically, Scooter is the one that found Justin Bieber on YouTube. But his career went way back from promoting parties and clubs and working, with a lot of rappers before they were really well known. So the guy has turned into a mogul. I mean, it's with Ariana and Selena Gomez, all the stuff that he's had his hands in is just amazing. And you can learn all that by watching this. But there's a topic that we've touched on several times on the show. And that is the idea of being an independent artist. And most people consider that like a cuss word. Like, independent is the one word that you are not supposed to be. Like, it's some sort of a scarlet letter that you wear if you're an independent artist. And I've made no bones about the fact that I believe that is because today's modern artist is more worried about the perception of fame than they are about the reality of success. And I believe that wholeheartedly. If the artists, most of the artists that are coming up today were honest and said that's why they don't want to pursue their effort as an independent artist, is because the road of being an independent artist doesn't lead to fame necessarily. It can lead to a great deal of success and financial success. But let's face it, most of the artists that are coming up today are more concerned about being a household name than they are about building a career for themselves. I just believe that. So while I was watching this episode of Ask Gary V, somebody called into the program, and that's part of the shows. People get to call in, and then Gary and his guest answer the questions. The first guy that called in just caught my ear, and I wanted to play this response for you guys to this question. And this guy is talking about, is an independent artist, but his goal and his brother's goal are to get signed. Now, they do EDM music and electronic music, so it's a little bit different, but it's really not to me. It's the same thing, same philosophy, and Scooter Braun's answer is point on. And he asks him what the goal is. And he says that the goal is to get signed. And I want to play for you his response because I think it is amazing. Guys, pay attention to this. This is one of the industry leaders of the music business right now. You don't get much bigger than Scooter Braun. I mean, the guy can snap his fingers. He was responsible for Gangnam Style, whether you like it or not. That was all him. And he's very smart. So when this guy calls in, asks the question, and says his goal is to get signed by a major label, this was Scooter Braun's response.
I disagree with your goal, and it's
okay.
and it's against me being able to sign artists. But I just think with this equalizer we call the internet, and the fact that you now have Spotify saying they'll do direct deals with artists, and we have this platform, especially in a genre like EDM, where albums are very insignificant and it's all about singles and mostly touring. I don't know why you would want to get signed. I think, what you should be doing is focusing on building a fan base, not worrying about getting to an executive, and, pushing out the music through SoundCloud, pushing the music, as far as you possibly can, and building up a base, building up a proper brand for yourself, and let the labels chase you, let the A&Rs chase you. You shouldn't be chasing them, especially in a time where it's never been more advantageous to be independent with the resources at your fingertips. I just think you guys are focused on the wrong thing, and that's probably why you haven't found success yet. I think once you guys...
go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I just think once you focus on building the brand properly and just getting to the consumer and getting to the fans, I think you'll start to see success coming your way and not worry about how do we get the attention of some A&R.
Okay. So sort of if you build it, they'll come. Kind of,
look, these guys are all scared trying to hold on to their jobs, and they're not interested in taking risks like they used to. They're just trying to chase the momentum.
How many times have I said
that? The other thing
that?
is, I think once you get the momentum, you won't be calling Gary V or myself back and saying, hey, what deal do we take? You'll be saying, I don't really want to take a deal. I like my economics better now, but on my own.
Yeah, no, I definitely can see that.
Max, I want to paint a picture for you. You literally just called and said, yo, what kind of VHS video store should I open up? Like, I want to build the next Blockbuster, literally in the face of Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime and the golden era of OTT. That is literally no joke, in my opinion, what it's like to be thinking about, I disproportionately am passionate about getting signed in the moment of the I literally would rather, you have your brother's song be distributed in the background of a vlogger that's crushing YouTube right now than you getting discovered.
Can I also add to this to just tell you? I think a lot of artists, DJ, they want to get to me, right? Because of my career. I would even say at 37, I'm afraid I'm becoming a dinosaur. Like, this technology has disrupted music so many times, and the resources are so there. I got kids now. I got, 100 different businesses. The way I built an artist was because that artist was 24/7 my sole purpose. And I think that the resources I have now can take an artist from stage A to G. We'll skip all the other letters because I have the network but I can't do it without someone getting to step A. And you know, step A is really breaking it themselves and having that passion. And if you guys are talking about this and you're calling in from Vermont when he's in New Mexico, it means that you got a lot of passion for your brother. And I would use that passion because you don't have to be next to him. I mean, when I was doing Justin, he was in Canada half the time and I was doing it from Atlanta. I mean, the resources are there. The resources are there for you. Give it to the people, build it with them, and then you'll be having a very, very different discussion the next time you call.
See, I just think that is so amazing. It is so spot on. That is somebody that lives and dies from mainstream, right? And he is telling you, he is the best advice that he can give you is to do it yourself. Be an independent artist. How many times have I said that? How many times do I have to continue to say it? That there has never been a better time in the entertainment business to be an independent artist. Now, if your goal, going back to what I've said before, if your goal is to be famous, number one, you're an idiot. Number two, you're in this for the wrong reasons. Number three, you're going to fail. That's 1, 2, and 3. All are true. But if you want to be successful, you want financial success, you want financial freedom, you want to get your art out there, you want to get it in front of people who care, you want to entertain for people and hit the road, it's going to take a lot of work, but it's possible. There you have Scooter Braun telling you so. And that guy can do anything in the world that he wants to do in the music business. I thought what Gary had to say there was so brilliant, and it was so spot on and correct that he compared it to wanting to open, getting signed to a major record label was like calling and saying that he wanted to open the next Blockbuster Video. I think that's great. The walls are being torn down. As I've said before on the show, if you are a songwriter, an independent artist, an independent producer, and you're out there and you're trying to blaze this path of getting quote unquote discovered or getting signed by a major label, I'm afraid that you're kind of on this merry-go-round and you're missing the boat that can take you straight to success. Because there are only a few things that ever kept independent artists from being successful, okay? One was radio. One would argue that streaming has taken over. Nobody listens to the radio anymore. Do any of you guys listen to the radio? And I don't like, I'm talking about radio for music. I listen to a lot of sports talk radio. I listen to a lot of talk radio. I listen to a lot of satellite radio. But I don't listen to like country radio, pop radio, like FM. I just don't, I can't. It pisses me off. And I think a lot of people are like me. A lot of people are not happy with what they hear. You get tired of hearing the same 13 songs over and over and over and over again. So now everybody's gone to streaming. Everybody's streaming, whether it's Spotify or Pandora or Apple Music or Google Play or Amazon MP3. Hell, Alexa will play anything you want her to. On demand. That's where everything's going, is on demand. But here's the thing. You as an independent artist, as an independent songwriter, as an independent producer, you now have the right and the ability and the option to be able to put your music on the streaming platforms. Now, do a lot of the major artists get preferential treatment when it comes to the important Spotify playlist? They absolutely do. But let me tell you something. I was reading an article yesterday. In 2017, more than 60% of streaming revenue went to independent artists. Globally, overall, 60% went to independent artists. Okay, that's not major label artists. But what I say is that you've got to hustle, okay? You've got to know your social media. You've got to know the algorithms. You've got to know how to promote your music. And you've got to be steadfast in your goal. So that number one wall that was there was radio is gone. You don't have to be on radio to find success anymore. And for those of you that are so damn focused on being famous, you don't have to be on radio to be famous either. The second big wall was distribution. That was your ability back 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, when people actually bought records, right? There was no iTunes store, so there was certainly no streaming, but there was no iTunes store, and you weren't buying music digitally. If you wanted that new single that you heard on radio, which was the only delivery platform to discover music whatsoever, if you wanted that song, you had to go to Walmart, Target, Best Buy, Circuit City, Fry's, Hastings, or a mom and pop record store. And in order to get in those stores, you had to be signed to a major label deal because they had the distribution deal that could get your product in what is called brick and mortar stores. Target, Best Buy, Walmart. Those are all brick and mortar stores. You had to be on a major label to be able to get in those stores. Okay. iTunes comes along. Now you, as the independent songwriter, independent artist, independent producer, you can now simultaneously make your music available worldwide for sale and streaming. So the distribution wall is torn down. So now you can put your product next to any major label artist out there. So the walls are torn down, and you've heard two leading people talk about this. Scooter Braun being one, Gary Vee being the other, and I've been saying it for years. I think that most people and more people don't listen to what I'm saying because they want to be famous. And I'll tell you guys, you guys know, in my artist development business, I end up working with so few artists because I meet with hundreds a year. I meet with hundreds of artists that want me to work with them and develop their careers. But about the third meeting in, it's very clear for me to see that they are after fame. They want to be a household name. They're not going to be happy until they're famous. They would rather be famous, and they would rather walk into a restaurant and people recognize them and know who they are than sell 100,000 copies of the record. That's the truth. So it's hard. It's hard to convince people that this is the way that they should go. Is it a harder path? Absolutely. It's difficult, but it's doable. That's my thing. If you are serious about this, and guys, look, this can be anything. It doesn't have to be music business. It can be anything. I own 5 businesses. One of them has something to do with music. That's it. But I take the same approach on everything. I'm not sitting around trying my best to get to a middleman. And those of you that are wanting on a major label, that's what you're doing. You're spending all of your time, your passion, and your energy trying to get to somebody and hoping that they can do it for you. Do it for yourself. I promise you that the scars that you'll have at the end of that process are worth it. And fame isn't worth it either. Nobody can give it, but everybody can take it away. So I'm hoping you guys, listen to that. I saw that. I watched that with Scooter Braun, and I thought, how interesting. That guy has ties with every major label. It's probably, well, I know, he owns imprints of several major labels. And that guy is telling you, bust your ass, do it yourself. It's all there for the taking. The resources are there. You have to know how to negotiate and navigate those resources like social media and advertising and Facebook ads and Instagram ads. And you have to know how to do all of that. But that's research. That's learning. If you want to do this and you want to be successful, you got to put in the time. You got to put in the effort. You got to put in the work. And I've just found that so many people are just lazy. I mean, there's just no nice way to put it. I mean, most of them are lazy. And they don't want to work that hard. They've sit around all their life, and their mom and dad and brother and uncle and aunt and grandma and grandpa have told them how great they are. When what they probably could have used to hear more is, let's work on the work ethic. Doesn't matter how great you are anymore. Turn your radio on. Listen, the facts are right there. But I thought that was interesting. I wanted to share that with you guys because there are two guys at the top of the game telling you that it is actually more probable and more profitable to be an independent artist than to try to go down and chase the major label thing. Try to get on a major label, try to get on the radio. It's just not worth it. You've got every resource that you need at your fingertips. Educate yourself, learn the platforms, learn the algorithms, be good. I think, see, that's one of the major ingredients that has been taken out of the major label game and system. Is talent doesn't matter. So what can we sell? There is still an audience out there that is craving and looking for and wanting new music that is good, that is produced well, that tells a story, that adds something to their lives. Because music is powerful. When it's done right, it's powerful. And that's why when you're watching a movie, imagine watching your favorite movie with no music in it whatsoever. Think about that for a second. It wouldn't affect you the same way. It's why music is used in car commercials and it's used in every other commercial, because it moves you when it's done right. When it's done wrong, or it's just thrown together and it's just thrown out there, then to me it's like the pack of gum at the Target checkout line, right? It's there. I mean, nobody walks into Target to buy gum, but you get stuck in the line and it's like, oh my God, look over here, there's 3 people ahead of me. That's why they put all of the crappy paparazzi magazines there next to the chapstick and the wet wipes and the gum and the candy bars, because it's those little things that you might just pick up on your way out while you're getting what you really came in the store to get. That to me is what bad music is. It's a loss leader. It's that thing sitting on the counter that, if you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. But if you're going to do this, do it good. Do it right. That costs. That costs blood, sweat, tears, passion, effort, sacrifice. That's another one most of you artists these days are not willing to do, is sacrifice. I can't tell you the number. I'll tell you, well, I'll let me put it this way. Every artist that I've ever worked with in a record label capacity or development capacity, there has been only one reason that they have failed. And that was their inability and unwillingness to sacrifice or to know the definition of what that truly means. And getting paid $1,500 to do a show instead of getting $5,000 a show is not sacrifice, right? Riding in a 15-passenger van instead of a tour bus is not sacrificing. When you go back and a lot of these artists, I always ask them to tell me artists that they look up to and that they would like to emulate. They would like their career to emulate. It never fails. Every single one of them always gets to a point where they name an artist, and a majority of them are artists that truly sacrificed, that recorded music instead of eating, that slept in their car. There's a country artist right now that's coming out named Jimmy Allen. Go research this guy and read his story. I'm not talking about whether or not you like his music, and I'm not saying his music's great. I'm not saying it's horrible. I like it. I just have to admit, I like it. A friend of mine, Eric Torres, produced it. I like it. Eric did a bang-up job. The songs are good. The production is good. But Jimmy's story is unbelievable. The guy slept in his car forever. He counted on friends and family for food because he didn't have any money. But he wanted to follow his dream. He sacrificed for it. Living in a studio apartment instead of living in a 3-bedroom apartment is not sacrifice. Learn the definition of the word so that as you progress through this challenge and you go down this road, if you know what the real definition of sacrifice is, then you'll know if you're actually truly sacrificing or not. And that's a big, important piece of the game that we're playing. So anyway, I wanted to play that for you guys. I hope you got something out of it. If you don't already, I highly suggest that you follow Gary Vee on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere. The guy is smart as all get out. The information that he gives out and the way that he speaks and the truth that he puts out there, I believe it's amazing and it's inspiring. So if you haven't already or don't know who I'm talking about, go check out Gary Vaynerchuk. Just an interesting all-around guy who really cares about people. He cares about business, but he believes 110% in that, like I always say, if it is to be, it's up to me. It is all about the hustle, the grind, and not counting on somebody else to get it done for you. It's about what you can put on your shoulders and move forward. So I want to try to get to some of you guys' comments. If you got questions or comments, be sure and drop them in the chat section on Twitch or YouTube, and I will get to them now. Big Mike says, my favorite movie is Shawshank Redemption. That doesn't need music. I highly disagree. Doesn't mean that it's not a good movie without the music. I'm just saying I bet you wouldn't feel the way that you feel without that music being there. Trust me. Still a great movie, but it's not nearly as emotional. I can promise you that. Rock of Ages would be boring without music. I have to say, I found Rock of Ages boring with the music. No, in all seriousness, yeah. It was pretty good. It wasn't that bad. Almost Famous would be boring without music, says James. That I agree. Great story, true story, as it were. Love that movie. I think that's one of those movies I have to watch a minimum of once a year, maybe twice a year. I just have to watch it. Such a great story. Great story. And knowing that it's true is just, it's even better. I'm a sucker for a true story. Ring Round says, speaking of music, I went and seen Kelsey and Keith at the Smoothie King Center and was very impressed. Look, Keith is a consummate professional. Keith is awesome. Keith is amazing. But I will also tell you, I also remember seeing Keith Urban for the very first time. I believe it was 1995 or 1996. Maybe even been a little earlier than that. Was the Country Radio Seminar, and he looked like a spaceship had landed on Broadway and brought this life form being from outer space and dropped him in the middle of the country music, the Country Radio Broadcaster Seminar. He was the strangest, oddest looking thing. Little bitty short guy, spiked hair, earrings. I mean, he's just, we're talking 93, 94, 95 when, it was still Alan Jackson and it was still Clint Black and Garth Brooks was on top. And, it was the Hat Axe and Travis Tritt and all that. And here's this guy that literally looked like a freaking alien. And he was passing around his CD trying to get people to listen to it. I'll never forget that. But yeah, Keith is great. I have never seen Kelsey live. I don't think. I'm trying to remember. I was at a show once that she was at, but I didn't stick around to see her show. I have seen her perform on award shows and things, and I wasn't that impressed. But look, hey, everybody has a bad night every now. But yeah, love Keith. Love Keith to death. That guy's a hell of a songwriter, hell of a guitar player, hell of an entertainer. He is the complete package. Really and truly the complete package. And I love, Keith is always my argument when people talk about they don't like the way that country music is evolving. And I always love to use Keith as my reference, is that I think Keith has actually evolved country music perfectly. You may not like all of it, but if you go back to his early stuff with the ranch and you see how he has changed with the changing times, I think he's a perfect example of how music has evolved, especially country music, and still staying true to the roots. So great example. I'm glad you enjoyed the show. Okay, anybody have any more comments? Anybody have any questions? I can't believe nobody has a question. I do want to let you know, I'm really pumped. I've got a video on my YouTube channel called Best Music Distributor of 2018. And it's done extremely well. Thousands and thousands and thousands of views, lots of comments, people asking questions. I try to reply to every comment when I can. It may take me a few days to respond to the questions in the comment section, but I always try to get to them, and I always do. I am working on a new video for that series that will be an updated version of that, because I have stumbled onto a new digital distribution platform that I'm trying out with a release that I have coming up, and I absolutely love the platform. Loved how easy it was to use. I loved everything about it. So I'm working on a video. So for those of you that are watching that may have come from that video, I am doing and working on an update of that. Several of you have asked me to check out other distribution platforms and other online and digital music distribution services. I am trying to put some work in to investigate some of those and give you some honest and truthful results and reviews of some of those. The one that I am using this time actually did come from somebody in the comment section. So I wrote it down and I made a note of it, and then somebody the other day brought this same platform up to me, and I said, you know what? So I'm gonna check that out, and so I did. And I ended up using their platform for a release on one of my artists that I have coming up very soon. And I'm going to talk about that as well. After that all goes down, maybe we'll talk about it here on the podcast as well. Let's see. I don't see any more questions. So I know everybody's probably anxious to get to their TV and start watching the election results come in. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight a little bit earlier. Do you guys like it earlier? Do you like it at 9? That's something that I want to try to get, because, hey, look, I'd like to do this earlier, in all honesty. I would love to do this earlier than 9 p.m. because by 9 p.m. at night, I am absolutely teetotally worn out. So I have a little bit more about my wits about me at 6 o'clock. I've just had dinner, although I've not had my second Starbucks today. And that is about to change as soon as the show ends. I'm heading up there and I'm getting my Starbucks because I need it, and I need it badly today. I'm going to be in the studio all day tomorrow with Gilded, producing 5 new songs. Their first 5, their debut album, EP rather, comes out this Friday. Gilded Part 1. You guys need to check them out. I'll post links on all of my social media, at the Steve Freeman on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, basically everywhere. You can follow me. You can see it right down there at the screen, right there. But yeah, that comes out Friday, and I'll post links to all of that. And hopefully you guys will check it out. Stream it, buy it, whatever it is that you do. I don't even know, do people even buy music anymore? I was looking at the sales numbers the other day, and it was just like, man, people just flat are not buying music anymore. It's just the way that it is. People are streaming. But luckily, we have the Music Modernization Act, and it has passed. So maybe we'll start seeing those checks increase just a little bit. We've got the CSAC Awards coming up, which I have been invited, trying to decide whether or not I'm actually going to go or not. But I did get the invitation, and I might go. I'm thinking about it. Might just do it. I swore off award shows a long time ago. I quit going to the CMAs and quit going to the AMAs and the Grammys. Quit going to everything. But I'm starting to think that maybe I might ought to fire the engine back up and get a little bit more involved in the community than what I have been. But those are coming up here in a few days. And then, of course, for you country music fans, we've got the CMA Awards coming up on the 14th, and I believe it's on CBS. And I probably, even though I've gotten in trouble in the past, I will probably be live tweeting and live posting on Facebook during the awards. That has always been a thing. I quit doing it for a couple of years because the publisher I was writing for called me in and asked me to please not do that. But now I think I probably will. So that's coming up on the 14th as well. And if I don't hear maybe from you guys, maybe I'll tweet something out, a poll or something like that, and see what you guys think about the time. Do you like the show being later at night, or do you like it earlier? And then hopefully we'll be in the new studio pretty soon. As soon as all of the equipment and everything that I've ordered comes in for that and we get it all set up. I just ordered a Mac Daddy badass computer for the new stream studio. I couldn't believe how much it cost, but it's going to be awesome, and it better be future-proof. But it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to show y'all the new studio and the new setup. It's really awesome. I enjoy being in here, but I like using this area for, another thing. I've got my Argosy console set up back there. And by the way, shout out to Argosy. Thank you for the mention and the shout out on Instagram and Twitter the other day, Facebook as well. I have been a long-time supporter of Argosy consoles. They've been a very long-time supporter of mine as well. Even a few years ago, I did a promotional video for them. They sent a camera crew out to the house when I got my Argosy Halo console that's right back there. Love that thing. But I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be really cool. I'm really excited to tell you guys about what's going to be happening. And hopefully next week we'll be able to do that as well. Okay, I'm seeing people in the chat say they'd rather it be earlier. So maybe we'll start doing this thing at 6 o'clock. Now, hey, nothing would make me happier than to do this at 6 o'clock. Also, because of the news I can't tell you about, we are probably going to go to a minimum of 2 days a week. And I'm thinking that it might be Tuesday and Thursday, but I'm going to have a commitment that I have to fulfill with the show, and they want it 2 days a week. So we will probably be moving to 2 days a week as well, as far as that goes. So there you have it. A lot more to come, a lot more to tell you guys about, and hopefully we'll be able to do that maybe next week. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to follow me on social media. Stay up to date with what's going on with the podcast. You can always send me questions, all kinds of stuff. If you'd like me to answer on the show, it's at the Steve Freeman on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, and just about everywhere else on these godforsaken social media platforms. Guys, I hope you have an amazing rest of your week. If you've got a family, go hug them and kiss them. And maybe sit down and relax a little bit tonight, watch the election results. And no matter what happens tonight, no matter who wins, who loses, don't hold the people that you love responsible. It's just politics, folks. It's just politics. And nothing beats real relationships. And let's not ruin them over stupid and petty, sometimes useless and baseless political arguments. But it's going to be interesting to see. Guys, again, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I will see you again next week, and it might be at a new earlier time. Follow me on social media to find out for sure. But as we leave tonight, as always, keep being creative. Keep pushing the boundaries. And there's nothing wrong with being independent. See you guys next time.
Can't be tamed. Cries through the dark and cut like a blade. midnight riot, 35.